Hello students, today we are going to discuss the spectroscopic technique in chemistry, which is your, yes, just a minute. Yes. Spectroscopic techniques in chemistry, which is your module 5 and lecture is 33. Yeah, so excuse me, this is the name of the subject. This is the name of the subject, that is the chemistry. The subject code is CH101 and 201. The credit point is 3 and contact hour is 35. So these are the some of the course objectives that we have for our course. The concepts developed in this course will aid in quantification of several concepts in chemistry that have been introduced at the level of 10 plus 2 in your school. Technology is being increasingly based on the electronic and atomic and molecular level modification. Okay, so these are the some of the course outcomes that we have. After finishing this course, you can able to, yes, okay, after finishing of this course, you can describe the fundamental properties of atoms, molecules, atomic structure and the periodicity of the elements in the periodic table. Also, you can able to apply the fundamental concepts of thermodynamics in different engineering applications. You can apply your knowledge of water quality parameters, the corrosion control and polymers to solve some of the problems what you are facing in your industries. And you can able to determine the structure of organic molecules using different spectroscopic techniques, and also you capable to evaluate theoretical and practical aspects relating to the transfer of the production of chemical products from the lab to the industrial scale in accordance with the environmental considerations. So these are the some of the course outcomes that we have for our course. Okay, so this is the lecture plan that the lecture plan of the module 5, that is the spectroscopic technique in chemistry. Okay. Okay, now the UV visible, you have in your syllabus the three spectroscopic techniques mainly. One is UV visible spectroscopy, absorption spectra, infrared spectroscopy, and also NMR spectroscopy technique that you have in your syllabus. Okay. Now, UV visible absorption spectra. To understand why some compounds are colored and others are not, and to determine the relationship of conjugation to the color, we must make accurate measurements of light absorption at different wavelengths in and near the visible part of the spectrum. Generally, what will happen, some of the organic molecules, some of the molecules are colored, some of the molecules are not. So why this color is generating, what is happening actually what will happen, the molecules with the help of some energy, what will happen if we if you give some of the supply some of the energy of a molecule, the electron will be excited and it will go to the excited state. Now what will happen, that excited state is not at all the that excited state is not at all the stable state. So what will happen again, the electron will come back to its ground state. So whatever energy it has absorbed, that the energy will be emitted while it will return back to the ground state. The energy will be the energy will be emitted. So this emission, the whatever energy is emitted, if this energy is in the range of visible ray, so that time we can see the color of that molecule. So generally the color, it is for the excitation of the electron, and that electron will transfer to the higher energy level, but that is not the stable state. Again it will come back to the ground state, and whatever energy it will emit, that is actually showing the spectra. And if it is the in the visible region, so that will show the color also. So this is the main reason. Okay, the commercial optical spectrometers enable such experiments to do the to be conducted with ease, and usually survey both the near UV visible region and the visible portion of the spectrum. The visible region of the spectrum comprises photon energies of 36 to 72 kilocalorie per mole, and the near UV visible region out of 200 nanometer, mind it, out of 200 nanometer, extends this energy range to 143 kilocalorie per mole. UV radiation having wavelength less than 200 nanometer is difficult to handle, and is seldom used as a routine tool for the structural analysis. So this is all about the spectrometer, whatever by which we can get the spectrum, okay, visible photons of the spectrum. Now, so generally these are the UV visible the spectroscopy. This is generally from the computer, whatever we are getting the UV visible spectroscopy, this is like this. Okay, now this type of spectra we are getting for the molecules. This is for the 1,3-diene. Okay, so this peak, if this peak this region is, this peak is 270 nanometer, which is correspond to the 1,3-diene, that time we can understand, yes, our molecule is 1,3-diene. Okay, so this is the utility of UV visible spectroscopy. If we synthesize new molecules, okay, so now what will happen, how we can be sure that whatever the molecule, whatever the compound we are aiming to synthesize, actually that we have got from this spectroscopy, like UV visible spectroscopy, from the IR spectroscopy or NMR. From all these spectroscopy techniques, we can be sure that yes, our compound is this, and this is and our reaction is successful. So actually these are the importance of this spectroscopy technique. We can know through this spectroscopy technique, we can know what are the functional groups we have in our structure. Okay, what are the conjugation or saturation or unsaturation if we have, so how much is it. So all these data, the structural informations that we can get from the UV visible, or from IR, or from NMR spectroscopic technique. So this is the example, this is the importance of spectroscopy technique. For like for any R&D sector, every day they're producing so many drugs. Okay, so how can they be sure that yes, I'm aiming to synthesize this drug, and actually I have got this drug. By this spectroscopic technique only they can be sure. Okay, so these are the some of the importance of the UV visible or NMR or IR spectroscopy technique, and more spectroscopic techniques also we have, but only these three techniques that you have in your syllabus. The energies noted above are sufficient to promote or excite a molecular electron to a higher energy orbital. Yes, as I told you, if we are providing the energy, what will happen actually? The electron will promote to the higher energy level. Okay, so but that is not their stable state. They again want to come to the ground state, and which is showing as a spectrum. Okay, consequently, the absorption spectroscopy carried out in this region is sometimes called electronic spectroscopy. Okay, a diagram that is showing various kinds of electronic excitation that may occur in organic molecules. Okay, is shown on the left. Yes, of the 6 transition outline. You can see here there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 6 transitions outlined. Only the two lowest energy one left most and colored blue. These are the blue colors. So are achieved by the energies available in 200 to 800 nanometer spectrum. Okay, as a rule, the energetically favored electron promotion will be from the highest occupied molecular orbital, that is called by the HOMO, the highest occupied molecular orbital, that is called HOMO. Okay, so molecular orbital, the different energy levels. Okay, so you don't have too much about the HOMO, about the LUMO in your syllabus, but just to understand this thing, just know कि this is the energy levels where the electrons are occupying, and this HOMO, that means the highest occupied molecular orbital, and the lowest unoccupied molecular orbital is called by that is a LUMO. Okay, so and the resulting species is called an excited state. So you can see here that is sigma bonding. Now we are having the pi bonding. This is the energy levels. Okay, so sigma bonding, pi bonding, then non-bonding zone. This is called non-bonding zone. This is the anti-bonding, pi antibonding, and the highest energy will be the sigma antibonding. Okay, so these are the energy levels of the orbitals we have. Now look here, the electrons are here you can see the electrons, how the electrons can be excited, and from which level to which level it will be permitted. Okay, allowed transition, this is called allowed transition. So these are all showing. Now look here, this is n to pi star, right? Next we can have the pi to pi star, right? Then these are the allowed. Look here, of the 6 transition outline, only the two lowest energy ones are achieved by the energies available in the 200 to 800 nanometer spectrum. So these two only we can get from the 200 to 800 nanometer. Okay, next we can have the non-bonding, the transition of the electron from non-bonding zone to sigma star, sigma anti-bonding zone, or the pi bonding zone to pi bonding orbital to sigma star antibonding orbital, or the electronic transition can take place in the from the sigma bonding to pi star antibonding, or sigma bonding to sigma anti-star bonding orbital. But you can see here there are huge energy difference between sigma bonding and sigma star antibonding. For this transition higher energy is required. Okay, So this is the HOMO-LUMO I have shown here. HOMO means highest occupied molecular, HOMO means highest occupied molecular orbital, and LUMO means lowest unoccupied molecular orbital. You can see here the HOMO, that means the this is the HOMO orbital and this is the lowest unoccupied molecular orbital. This is the LUMO. So transition can take place. Okay, when the sample molecules are exposed to light having an energy that matches a possible electronic transition. Okay, so whatever energy we are providing, if that energy is matches to the transition energy, like from the electronic transition will take place from one step ground state to from excited state. So this energy, the difference in this energy, if this energy will be matches whatever matches with the energy whatever we are providing, that time the transition will take place. Okay, some of the light energy will be absorbed as the electron is promoted to the higher energy orbital, and optical spectrometer records the wavelength at which the absorption occurs. We are having so many improved nowadays, so many improved spectrometer we are having, which is indicated that how much energy is absorbed for the electronic transition, for any type of electronic transition in the molecule. So that can be recorded by the spectrometer. Okay, there are so many improved spectrometer nowadays we have in our lab. The degree of absorption at each wavelength, the resulting spectrum is presented as a graph of absorbance A versus wavelength. Okay, as in the isoprene spectrum shown below, since this is the isoprene. Yeah. Okay. So shown below, since isoprene is colorless, it does not absorb in the visible part of the spectrum, and this region is not displayed on the graph. Absorbance usually ranges from 0 to 99% absorption will take place. Okay, and is precisely defined in context with the spectrometer operation, because the absorbance of a sample will be proportional to the number of absorbing molecules in the spectrometer light beam. As for example, like molar concentration in the sample tube, it is necessary to correct the absorbance value. It is necessary to correct the absorbance value for this and other operational factors if the spectra of different compounds are to be compared in the meaningful way. The corrected absorption value is called molar absorptivity. Okay, and is particularly useful when comparing the spectra of different compounds and determining the relative strength of the light absorbing functions. Okay. Yeah, so this is the Lambert-Beer's law, from where we can get an idea of the absorbance. The absorbance is directly proportional. According to this law, we know that absorbance is directly proportional to the concentration of the solution, that is A equals to epsilon Cl, and which is equals to log I0 by I, which this equation is very important, right? So where C is the concentration, whatever concentration we have taken for the solution, L is the length of light path through the cell. Okay, and epsilon, this is epsilon is the molar absorption coefficient. This is called molar absorption coefficient, and the and the unit is liter per mole per centimeter inverse. Okay, so this is the according to the Lambert-Beer's law we can know. So what they have done, this is the source of monochromatic light, so that will incident on the sample, and transmitted light, and this is the detector. Okay, so incident light is I0 and transmitted light is I. So a absorbance, we can get the absorbance that is equals to epsilon Cl, which is depending on the concentration of the solution, whatever solution we have taken, and also the length of light path through the cell, where that is equals to log I0 by I. I is the incident intensity of the incident light, and I0 is the yes, the intensity of the incident light, and I is the transmitted intensity of transmitted light. Okay. So this is called Lambert-Beer's law. Now molar absorbability, already we know ki A equals to absorbance equals to epsilon Cl. Epsilon is your molar absorption coefficient. So that means epsilon, we can convert this epsilon, that is equals to A by absorbance divided by concentration of the cell, and the L, the length of the pathway, light pathway through the cell. Okay, so this is the expression, mathematical expression of the molar absorption coefficient. Again, it's written is absorbance, C is the sample concentration, and in mole per liter, L is the length of the light pathway through the sample in centimeter. Okay, if the isoprene spectrum on the right was obtained from a dilute hexane solution in a 1 centimeter sample cuvette, a simple calculation using the above formula indicates a molar absorbability. If we use this equation, if we use, so it will show that the molar indicates that the molar absorptivity, that is equals to 20,000 at the maximum absorption wavelength. Okay, so indeed the entire vertical absorbance scale may be changed to a molar absorptivity scale once this information about the sample is in hand. Okay, now this is a table for which we are having the chromophoric group, that is the double bond, triple bond, we have the ketone functional group, we have nitromethane, nitric oxide, we have NO group, we have actually. Okay, or we have the halide group, bromide group, methyl group, iodide. For all, the excitation energies are given from pi to pi star. Okay, now pi to pi star, again for ketone system we can have the N to pi star and pi to pi star transitions. For nitromethane also, for methyl bromide, methyl iodide, for this case also we can have the N to non-bonding zone to sigma star transition, or N to sigma star transition. Okay, so this is the excitation energy, and this is the value of the epsilon. Okay, 200 and 360 like this, and this is the solvent, actually hexane we are using for the experiment. Okay, so this is a list of the sum of the functional group for which what type of transitions we are having, and for that transition what will be the wavelength of that transition, and also the epsilon value is given, and the solvent is for all cases, we can have the solvent hexane or ethanol. Okay. From the chart above, it should be clear that the only molecular moieties likely to absorb the light in the range of 200 to 800 nanometer region. You can see here 200 to 800 nanometer region. The region, in this region, the absorption is taking place. Okay, the pi electron functions and heteroatoms having non-bonding valence shell electron pairs. Such light absorbing groups are referred to as the chromophores. Okay, the chromophores, what are the chromophores? The light, whatever the functional groups we have in our molecule, that light the absorbing groups are referred to as the, are indicated by the, are called as the chromophores. The a list of some simple chromophores and their light absorption characteristics is provided. The oxygen non-bonding electron in alcohol and ethers do not give rise to the absorption above 160 nanometer. Consequently, pure alcohol and ether solvents may be used for the spectroscopy studies. For any spectrometer, for the spectroscopic studies of for any molecule, we should first choose the solvent. Okay, so generally we choose the pure alcohol or ethanol, we can choose alcohol or ether solvents we can choose in a molecule is a base documented by the UV visible spectroscopy. But the failure of most instruments to provide absorption data for the wavelength below 200 nanometer makes the detection of isolated chromophores problematic. Fortunately, the conjugation generally moves the absorption maxima to longer wavelength. If we have like in our molecule, in our moiety, in our substrate, if we have conjugated saturated system, so what will happen? The stable state is much more the excited state is much more stable by that conjugated system, by that conjugated double bond or triple bond system. Okay, so that is why what will happen, the wavelength for that transition, if we have in our moiety the conjugated system, for that transition the lower, the lambda will be lower. Okay, yeah, the lambda will be longer, the maximum, the absorption maxima to the longer wavelength. Yeah, the lambda, the value of the lambda will be higher while we are having the conjugated system. Okay, as in the case of like isoprene. So conjugation becomes the major structural feature identified by this technique. Molar absorptivities may be very large for strongly absorbing chromophores and very small if absorption is weak. The magnitude of epsilon reflects both the size of the chromophore and the probability that light of a given wavelength will be absorbed when it strikes the chromophore. So this is all about the chromophores. Okay. These are the some of the chromophoric group that I have given. That is the carbonyl group. We have the azo group. We have nitro group. The thioketane. This is thioketane. C double bond S. Thioketane. Nitrile group. Also we have conjugated diene, conjugated triene, conjugated tetraene. These are the all chromophoric group. Okay. And for the corresponding which this is also the wavelength. Okay, corresponding which we are having the wavelength. Okay, so these are the some of the more groups that we have, the chromophoric groups. Presence of these groups, this is called the chromophores. Technology for absorption shifts nature of the shift and descriptive term to longer wavelength. If look in our moiety, in our molecule, if we are having such a functional group which for presence of that, the shift will be to the longer wavelength, that is called by the bathochromic shift. If the shift will be to the shorter wavelength, that is called by the hypsochromic effect. Okay, if the shift will be greater, if the due to the presence of that functional group, if the greater absorbance we can see, that is called hyperchromic, and lower absorbance if we see, that is called hypochromic. Okay, so these are the some of the terms that we have. From this portion you can have this type of question, how you can define the bathochromic shift, how you can define the hypsochromic shift, what do you mean by hyperchromic effect, what do you mean by hypochromic effect. So these are the some of the short type questions that you can have from this portion. Now, what is the application of UV visible spectroscopy? As I told you, generally UV visible spectroscopy we are using for the organic molecule and to determination of the functional group. UV visible spectroscopy is routinely used in analytical chemistry for the quantitative determination of different analytes such as transition metal ions, highly conjugated organic compounds or not, the biological macromolecules. The spectroscopic analysis is commonly carried out in solution, but the solids and gases may also be studied. Solutions of transition metal ions can be colored, that is absorb visible light. Okay, because electrons within the metal atoms can be excited from one electronic state to another. The color of the metal ion solution is strongly affected by the presence of other species such as certain anions or ligands. For instance, the color of a dilute solution of copper sulfate is a very light blue. According to the ammonia intensifies the color and changes the wavelength to the maximum absorption. Now, organic compounds, especially those with a high degree of conjugation, also absorb the light UV radiation, UV light. Okay, which the solvents for these determination are often used as a water for the water soluble compounds, or ethanol for the organic soluble compounds. Okay. All solvents are suitable for use in UV spectroscopy. Ethanol absorbs very weakly at most wavelengths. Solvent polarity and pH can affect the absorption spectra. Okay, tyrosine, for example, increase in absorption maxima and molar extinction coefficient when pH increases from 6 to 13, when solvent polarity decreases, while the charge transfer complexes also give rise to the color. The colors are often too intense to be used for the quantitative measurement. So these are the some of the applications that we have for the UV visible spectroscopy. This is this is the today's topic. What you have to do, you need to follow the class, to read the study material well, because this is very conceptual. Okay, and the very little amount you have in your syllabus, only the techniques you have in your syllabus, right? Okay, and one assignment also I have given, so just follow the class, do the assignment and submit it in time. If you have any doubt regarding this technique, UV visible spectroscopic technique, so next day we can discuss, or you can come to me, and then I will make you understand how to solve the different type of questions from this portion. Okay, so thank you students, and see you in the next class.